Hi everybody, welcome back yet again to the next video from SawDustU on upgrading your table saw. This is the second part of the sliding table videos, and I was going to run through the construction of this fence. Frankly, those of you that are experienced woodworkers can probably intuit how to do this, and you can skip to the next one on the building of the fence if you'd like. For those of you though that are new to this kind of stuff, you might want to watch and see how I did it. So I already showed you the hold down that I have. You can configure this any way you want, but it's an important thing to have on a sliding table because particularly if you have longer pieces, it'll help you control them. And also for those of you that didn't watch the first video where I went into this a little bit, I want to hit briefly on the reason I don't have one of those huge sliding tables is when you're using full sheets of plywood, particularly in a single man shop or woman, moving a 3/4 inch sheet of pre-finished plywood or beautiful grain plywood around a shop without getting it nicked up or dinged is tricky to do at best. And you can ruin a real nice sheet of plywood if you're not careful. So what I did is I used this same rail system and basically designed it on a vertical component rather than horizontal. And I counterweighted the sled with a circular saw mounted on a rotating table. Very similar in design capabilities to the ones you see at Home Depot and whatnot. The difference is this cost a couple $100, theirs costs $6,000 or $8,000. And I dare say mine is more accurate. If you've ever had those guys cut your plywood, you know what I'm talking about. So what it enables me to do is I can take my plywood and I can swing it up with the truck right out here. I've got the panel saw set up on the carport. I can slide that plywood right off the truck, keep it vertical against the platform I built, and then I can mark it off, allow myself maybe 1/8 of an inch room for error, and in other words overcut it by 1/8 of an inch and cut it down into panels that I can use for whatever project I'm building. Most of the stuff I do nowadays is kitchen cabinets, bookcases, corner cupboards, armoires, consoles, that kind of stuff. So I'm usually using 2x4 pieces, maybe 2 by 60 inch, that sort of thing. And basically this whole saw setup was designed for using that size of panels, either solid wood or plywood. You can take note of that both in regards to the sliding table and on the fence. And the nice thing about this system as I go through it, you'll see you can adapt the ideas I've taken here and fit this for as large a components as you need for the kind of work you do. Okay, so back to our fence. As I mentioned previously, this is a very nice piece of 1/4 inch thick, 6061 aircraft aluminum, 1/4 inch thick, 2 inches, 3 inches wide, tempered T6, very, very nice unit, very strong, very tough actually to drill through. You want to be sure to spray a little water or some kind of oil foam component on your drill bit so it'll go through this. Now I'm going to take you briefly to this slot. Now once again, the woodworkers out there that know how to do this kind of stuff, it's probably boring to you, but this is for novices that I'm going to try to explain how to do this. All right, so what you want to do is drop your saw blade down, and you've taken your fence and you have to allow for two things. Number one is you have to allow for where your dado is. Now on this saw, the dado stacks towards the fence. So I had to line my forward point of the fence here a good inch back from the saw blade, because for when I have a dado in there, obviously I have to clear the fence or it'll be ruin my whole day. So you've got your piece here and you've got your pivot. You figure your swing. Now you generally won't need to get over maybe 50 degrees, but I've got this set. I think I go as far as 48 degrees and down to actually less than 90 for whatever reason. You'd be surprised when you're building furniture and cabinet stuff how you sometimes need to use odd angles. But this will accommodate the full range, so it's very nice. But the key to the system is this long slot in the fence here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Clearing up some of my mess here. Oh, one other quick point I might make too that I like about this sliding table is even if you have a plywood cabinet under here versus, or a platform like I have here, is it gives me a little place to keep my steel rules, pencils, and Allen wrenches and stuff, and it still clears the sled. So I've got stuff here. It's out of the way of my work surface, but it's handy for me to reach. So that's just an aside. So here we go. I've measured the swing of my fence that I want, and I put a mark at both ends with a felt tip pen. Now you want to keep it, you want to be think in terms of you got to allow for your hold down however you have it, or your clamp, however you hold it. So in this case it's about in the middle of the space. Now I've got my holes marked either end. I can go ahead and drill those. In this case they're 3/8 of an inch. The clamp that I have designed here has a 5/16 inch threaded rod, and then it has a 3/8 by 5/16 inch T-nut here. That collar on that T-nut fits almost tight on that slot. So it's got some play but not any slop, which is what I like. It goes through here, and there's another T-nut here at the base, 5/16 on the inside, 3/8 on the outside. I drilled a 3/8 inch hole through. It goes through there and locks in, gives me a nice tight fit, and I can clamp this down anywhere in my range. Nice easy system. So I've got my two holes. I want to have a nice slot between that. How do I do that? You take your saw blade, you raise it up. Now you can extend your marks. I'm going to use masking tape. Don't go all the way to the end of the hole. In other words, you don't want to take your saw blade when you're doing this and encroach into the clean virgin metal. You want to have a nice clean look that looks professionally done. So you want to just kiss that hole that you've drilled with the saw blade. So you see here, I can center it here. I can see I've got to go up a little bit. So I raise it, raise it, raise it, center it, all that kind of stuff, get it all where I like it. Now right there is where I'm good. Then I take my masking tape and I can mark the end of the fence where I want to have it to do my cuts. Put a little mark, just like a cabinet maker's mark you do when you have two pieces of wood where you put a couple of lines, you match those lines up and you know you're good. Now you lower your saw blade back down, bring your fence over, and you want to have the inside edge, in other words the edge closest to the fence, right on that line there. So you get your fence set up, you bring it in like this, you run your line over, see how the end of the fence matches up with my masking tape. Now this isn't perfectly accurate, I'm not leaning over to check it, I'm just showing you the concept. Then I take my saw, turn it on, full face mask. This will throw hot aluminum at you like you won't believe. Don't lose an eye. Then slowly you bring this up, carbide blade. Don't use your good woodworking one, get an older or a cheap carbide blade. It'll go through this aluminum just fine. You can clamp the fence down in place so it doesn't move, and watch that saw blade creep through that cut. You bring it up and up and up and up and up, right about till you get to your mark, and you see it's kissing that hole. Turn it off, drop it down. Now you move it over. Now you have this side of your saw blade, closest to me here, on the closest edge of the slot. Get my thing set up, lock my fence in, same thing. Put the end of the fence up on my mark, clamp it in place, and then I bring the saw blade up through it like that. Turn it off, drop it down. Now, if you've done this right, this bar will stay there because you haven't risked putting a notch in the end of your aluminum. It's not the end of the world if you do. You can come back with a round file and clean it up, I guess. But it's just, you know, you have to make the decision when you're working with wood or with metal. Are you going to do this precisely and as a craftsman with pride in your work, or you're not? So that's your decision. So you take that, you can pop it out. Usually it's just a little tab of aluminum holding in place. You can use sometimes even a razor knife will go through that little thin piece. Pop that bar out, and then take a file and clean up the edge, deburr the edges, use some nice wet dry sandpaper, clean it up, wipe it down, polish it off, and you've got a real nice smooth slot, very nice and straight, makes it look like it was actually done by a professional, knew what the heck they were doing, and you're good to go. The other end of this unit I've already gone through with the bar here for your hold down. This becomes your handle too. Gives you a very safe, easy way to be accurate on this. I think that'll do you. If you have any questions, let me know. Visit the website at SawDustU.com and you can see the close-ups of these various components. And then if you still have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.